That's right, boys. I'm on time today. Boo. What's up, everybody? What is up? What is up? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? You like my background? Do you like my background? It's a Terraria theme. Hello. Hello. Thank you. Hey, Sprays, Jared, Kale, Dushin. Everybody. Big hearts. Big, terribly made hearts. Dushin hates my background. Why don't you like it? It took me a whole 45 seconds to find and use this background. So sad. Jared's not gonna spam today. It must be a special day indeed. Have you? Have you been here that long, dude? Are you happy, Ian? You finally got it to pop up. I wonder why Kale's didn't pop up. What's up, Jack? What's up, everybody? See, look, I had to click this button. That's how hard I had to work to get that background. Program called Wallpaper Engine. It's like $3 or $4 on Steam. It's super cool. You get animated wallpapers. They're really awesome. There's a ton to choose from. Not sure why Kale's thing didn't pop up. I could probably do a repeat. 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 It doesn't want to pop up Kale for some reason. Repeat. It's weird. It's weird. It's very weird. What are we going to do today? I'm glad you asked. We are going to build a new large homeworld. On Terraria. My people, my people. I love you guys. Jeez, chat off the hook already, just getting here. People winning. Oh. Also. Boom. Starting early with the raffles. Yeah, Jared's been here a long time. Been here a long time. Jared's been in my channel longer than I have. Go to my vid and go to the comments. Hold on. What's this? I'm looking. Beautiful voice. Join us, Epinic. What is this? What is this? I don't know what this is. Oh, like a Google Plus Hangout thing? I don't know what it is. Why don't you just use Discord? That's what we already use. I don't know. I don't use Google Plus. I don't exactly know what this is. Is it like a hangout or like one of those circles or whatever? So confused, Jack. Jack has confused me. Discord's getting hacked. Discord seems fine. WannaCry 2.0, isn't that you, Jared? Hehehe, I kid, dog, I kid. Profile won't work on Discord. What's your Discord issue, man? Come on, let's figure it out. Let's figure it out together. What's up, Ognigen Millen? Welcome to chat. Dude, I'm trying to help my buddy Jack figure out why he can't get on the Discord. What's up, Gawoon? Welcome back, dude. NCS all day. Alright, guys, we're doing something crazy. We're making a permanent large home. Should I do an expert world? Do you guys think I can do it with this character? I couldn't even kill the queen bee. Dude, it got too laggy last time, man. It was like messing up the stream. I can't do multiplayer. It was literally killing. Like, I was dropping frames. Like, everything was getting laggy. Multiplayer just killed it. Alright, guys. We're gonna make a permanent homeworld in expert. Do you guys think I'm ready for this? Virtual box, son. Look at you with the fanciness. What do you run? What do you run for a virtual box? You ever try a box, BOCHS? I used to like that one. Expert. World name. Already with the cookies. I went to the other link. I don't know what that is. I don't do Google Plus, so I don't really know what that is. World name. Do you know a good name to name the world? Freddy, can you help me come up with a world name? My chat seems to not know what's up with coming up with a world name. I say we just call it Boom! Haha! That's a good one. I like it. It's witty. Oh, and it's Crimson. Thank God. I wanted my permanent home to be a Crimson world. I like those a lot better. Kale winning the however many bucks it was. 50 bucks on Kale. Enjoy that. Hey, you said it first, so you got what you got. You got what you get what you got. Should I name the stream 200 sub special or 200 sub hype? I feel like hype's catchy. hype's catchy, you know. There's 2 links. 2 links from Jackie Boo. Bluetooth. Bluetooth. Mi channel. Mi gusta. Mi poll closed. I got a lot of views on that video really fast. I'm gonna start uploading 20-second videos just because I get a ton of views. Oh wait, review. I think it thought you were spamming. Oh, it's Subnautica Rocket. I don't want to play. I'm scared to play that. Bruh. Wait, what's going on? What's going on? Cookies. Cookies like crazy. Hype. 200 sub special, 200 sub hype. Tell me now. While I'm ossifying and making cave walls. I'm making cave walls. Leonj bent tak ook Netherlands? No. Definitely don't. You can buy yourself a cookie. Proceeds go to the grandma in the basement. Mag is not going to be very happy, Jared, if you did that. Yeah, 200 sub hype. See, I'm feeling that. I'm feeling the hype today, guys. I'm feeling the hype today. Expert. That's scary. That is scary. I've been live 5 minutes. How the heck is view time 2 hours? It's lots of peeps. Alright guys, I'm gonna change it, I'm gonna change it, I'm gonna change. Change. 200. Leon, are you Dutch too? Ah, I see. I see. Hype. Hype. Done. Did you save? Let me refresh this bit. Dude, this is where it's at. I'm gonna start streaming on Saturdays, guys. You guys are off the chain today. OBS, dog. OBS is where it's at. Hey, Julian Zero. What's up, man? Dude, I love Plague Inc. Plague Inc. is super fun. I just figured it would be a super boring stream. Wow, what's uptime say? Oh man. Oof. Oof, expert. Here we go. Here we go, guys. We're going into expert mode. Do I have any blocks? I need to shelter this guy off as soon as possible. I need my axe. Whatever. Sister location is freaking awesome. Have a full playthrough of that, by the way. Up on my channel. If you want to go watch my playthrough about 15 to 37 times, that's okay. YouTube allows that. Dude, if you do that, I'm just gonna hide. I'm gonna tell you straight up. If you make me do pacifist during a blood moon, I'm just gonna hide it on a box. It's still not gonna help though. I'm just gonna die. Wood. I already had wood. What's up with that? Hey, come here. I need to protect you. No, come here, come here. No, 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 no. Come here. Stop. Stop. Ha! I'll protect you. Emmanuel. Alright, you're safe, dude. I got your back. I'm an idiot. From Bulgaria. Nice. Oh, I'm not... Dude, even with 3 players, it started lagging, man. I'm not gonna risk it. I want a nice, smooth, clean play. In expert mode, especially. I don't want stuff bouncing all over the place. Whoa. This is a very large world. I'm from the USA, man. Good old North America. Should I go ahead and start setting up houses for my villagers? And can I blow up trees? Yes, I can. That's how you get wood like a pro. Yeah, man, it'll lag, dude. I don't want to be lagging, especially in hardcore mode. I'm sorry. Yeah, my people are... I'm taking no chances. My guys are living up in the air. Cookies. Dude, this is gonna be a nice. My guys are gonna have a nice house this time. A nice little floating house. This music, though. This is what hype's all about. Does there have to be a door? We'll make a little elevator shaft. Well, good thing I'm building, dude. Hope you don't feel like you wasted your money. Oh, hope nothing bad happens. What's not in the shop? Currently have shout out disabled. Unfortunately. Uno fortunate. He has summoned the battle of the arena. Good luck, everybody. It's going off the chain. People are buying cookies. Grandma is happy. Grandma loves you all. Oh, you might think I'm just building the average house. This is gonna be a nice one. This is, the beginning's just temporary. It means you got a cookie, dude. I'm about to sell out of cookies. Grandma's about to have to make a new batch of cookies. I mean, what do you think you do? You eat a cookie. It doesn't actually give you anything, it's just a thing, you know? That's not right. Jesus, the cookies. Purple slime. I can show you the world. Cookies! Cookies! Go to shop, man. Go into the shop. Shop, shop, shop. Shop, shop, shop. Oh, I'm not allowed to use weapons. Holy crap, I forgot. I forgot. I'll restart that timer. I'll start a timer. Oh man, that way I can remember. Is that good? Alright, 10 minutes, no weapons. Sorry, starting that over. Completely forgot. Who's gonna win? Who's gonna win? Can you die? Gabriel with another win, dude. Gabriel, where you at, dude? Let me find you. Let me find you. I will find you and you will be rewarded for your efforts in the arena. What is this? Extra protection already. Already. Alright, so a minute after the pacifist is when I can take these off. These are getting so dirty. They're getting so dirty. Great. Awesome. Awesome. Love it. I hate it, actually. This was the worst thing ever. Alright, what was I doing? Gabriel needs to be rewarded. Reward. That thing. Congrats on the arena battle, dude. Alright, man. Still got 2 minutes. Alright. No weapons for another 8 minutes. Goggles on for another 9 minutes. Bombs count as weapons, so I gotta chop this down with this. Can't chop it down with that. Dude, you guys are buying out all the cookies. What are you gonna buy when there's no more cookies? Be great. I can't. Vision is very lacking when I wear these. I'm not sure if you know that. They get fogged up quite quick. On fire. You guys are getting all the monies. No, nobody needs to run handicap. Yeah, I'd like to get some of those drunk goggles. Hey, Mike 20,034. Welcome to Sub Club, dude. Glad you could stop by for our 200s hype special. I can't fight that slime. Gotta run away. No, don't. Why is there a slime inside my house? Can't kill that till later. Ah! I'm trapped. I'm an idiot, and I'm trapped. Not doing single player, man. I tried multiplayer. It was making me drop frames on the stream. It was getting super laggy. Stuff was bouncing all over the place. It just went bad. Hey, alright. Alright guys, I'm gonna get some cool blocks for the background. Every NPC will have a different type of room. I've seen this picture on Google and I thought it was cool, so I'm gonna do that. Okay, that should be enough for somebody. Berlin Bland has arrived. Welcome, dude. Welcome, dude. Dog, dude. Dog, dude. I can't see. I can't see. How much longer? Oh god. No, I do not have a PS4, my man. I am a PC Master Race kind of guy. What is this? You can make ice walls, right? Did I pass up ice walls? I swear I honestly can't see. Snow brick. What do you need to make the background wall for snow? Do I need ice or what? So I was about that. Snow. I need snow bricks. That makes sense. What do I just get snow when I... Snow bricks to make snow walls? Are you lying to me? I can't see. No, stop. Is that... What is that? No, it's just a regular brick. Hey, where'd that slime go? Can I take them off? It's been 5. How many minutes do I have that set for? 5 or 10? How many minutes do I have it set for? Not that I can see. Not 10 minutes, dude. I gotta do 10. Gotta do 10. It's gotta happen. I can't see it, but it's gotta happen. How do I do it? Hold on a second, guys. Saws, much saws. Can I not make a... There's wood wall. Dirt wall. Nice brick. Alright. I don't know. Slightly scared. I can't use weapons for another minute. Maybe I could just use a hammer and take it from that. Do I still have a hammer? Where's my hammer? I see no hammer. I see no hammer. Stay away. Stay away, I can't fight you. I can't use that. Pretty sure I need a hammer to take background pieces out. So I guess I'm gonna make a wooden hammer. wooden hammer it is. Thought I already had one, but whatever. It's no biggie. No biggie. Hi Malachi, what's up, dude? Skip song does not work. I don't know why. Okay, does that also not work? Axe maybe? I thought you could take out walls with something. There we go. Am I even picking those up? It's just destroying them. No, stay away. Okay. Michael Jackson, the one and only, has joined the sub club, dude. Welcome, big fan of your work. Oh, it's Malachi Jackson. Whoops, my bad. My bad, dog. Alright. I can stop with the pacifism. 10 minutes are up on that. Puppet show. You guys want a puppet show? The one and only. Give me 1 second before I can get these goggles off. Alright. Alright, guys. Woo! Now I look all weird. Puppet show, puppet show. Puppet show, puppet show. Puppet show mode engaged. I don't know what to do. These are awkward. Why did I add this to the shop? This is, I don't know what to do. Yeah. Freddy Fazbear. I'm gonna find that jinx. This place sure is creepy. I don't like this pizza place. I just wanted some pizza, that's all. I see you, Jinx. I'm coming for you. Ah! 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 Where'd he go? Where'd he go? Oh. I finally found you. I'm gonna destroy you. Creeper. There you go, guys. There's your puppet show. There's your terrible. Hi, a glass. All right. 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 Let's put in these doors. Let's get some torches up in this place. Where my wood at? Where my wood at? Plot twist. There's a creeper. He didn't show up as green, because green is like invisible or whatever. But still, he was there, man. He was totally there. Alright. I'm gonna go find some stuff. Alright now. Boom. Take that. Demon, Demon, I can't see you, Demon. Got him. Alright, I'm gonna need some wood. Whoops. Ah, check us out. Oh, I didn't kill him. Oh, snow brick wall. There it is. Okay. Alright, I see how this works. Wait, what? Where's the rest of my snow bricks? If you guys don't know, I'm blind when it comes to seeing. I'm gonna need a lot more snow. No, I never defeated the wall. Yeah, I should get an actual achievement for that. I failed 3 times at it. I will get it eventually. Yoink. Yoinkarino. Let me out of here. I'm blind when it comes to seeing. That's not right. Only when it comes to seeing, though. I can see just fine any other time. I should what? Subnautica Monday. What's up, new guy? Blue, Roblox Gaming and more. Welcome to the stream, my friend. This is an expert world. Yeah, I held a vote. Everybody wants Terraria, dude. People love it. They can't get enough of my Terraria streams. Or just, I guess, Terraria in general. Far be it for me to say it's because of me that they like Terraria, but, you know, Terraria. I'll switch back and forth with that. How's it actually pronounced? Does anybody know? Ooh, the pumpkin moon, dude. That stuff is rough. Well, that timer's still up there, isn't it? Isn't it? Gotta get rid of that timer. I forgot about that. Stop. Nope. Reset. Go it. Go it. Nobody likes you. Terraria. I feel like Terraria is correct, but I always used to say Terraria. I mean, it is an A, so that would make sense. Did I use all my wood on this stupid wood wall? No. It's gonna be my crafting area. Totally not biased on room size. There will be no chair here. This is my room. Terraria? Terraria. No, I'm just confused. I'm just very confused. Whatever, dude. I was gonna be more elaborate, but now I'm just being lazy because I want to go get some of that fat expert mode loot. I'm allowed to be lazy if I want to be, because I said so. What's up, 1G? Juan. Yeah, I seen you said. I definitely should get an achievement for that. Burr. Burr. I think this guy's name is Perseus. Pretty sure. I don't know. When I feel a moderator is needed, I shall look into it. One. Give me them stones. Sub is turning from a sub club to a sub army, guys. That'll work for now. For Nizden is now. How much of that do I have? That's enough to do a room, right? Stone wall. Hyping it up today, guys. You guys want me to skip this song, apparently. Boop. Yeah, skip song does not work. I don't know. Let me try to turn it off and back on again. I may sneeze in a moment. Wait, what? Votes necessary to skip song count 0. It's not 0, it's 1. Alright, 2. Alright. Alright guys, you can try skip song. I have to make it so it costs $1 to skip a song. Pretty sure that that's been the issue. Not up to me. It's on the Fussbot team right there. Okay. Well then, that was the thing that just happened. Oh no, it's ugly. Cookies, I like cookies. Okay. Is there a way to make that stop popping up every single time? Guys, please don't just constantly skip song. Holy crap. You guys are just gonna skip song the entire stream, aren't you? Maybe it was a good thing. Alright, there we go. I think that might have fixed it. Bought things in the shop. El Shoparino. Well, that's not gonna work. It's ugly. I must fix that. No, why? Since when am I bad at building? When was I good at building? Gotta cover up them cracks and jammies, boys. Okay, not like that. Holy crap, I have no space. Make it different. Everybody likes it to be a little different. I can't count. What's up, Elemental? Welcome to chat, dude. Welcome back. Glad you be here today for the 200 sub hype Saturday stream. And I'm out of wood. Cool. Hey Blue, glad you could sub today, man. Welcome, welcome, welcome. There's a reason why we lose. Sis Jack. See you soon, Jack. 50 is the max on Flipcoin. That was a good song. Come on. I don't like skip song. That's now my least favorite thing in the channel. I don't know why Kale's sub club didn't show up. I'm trying to repeat it one more time. I don't know. It won't show up. I don't know why. Dude, that's because I am. I'm the dopest of dope. Just ask my mom. Got ourselves an arms dealer, guys. was supposed to make a chair, huh? Okay, skip song is gonna get... What happened today, dude? Elemental? What happened? Tell me all about it. How'd your day go? What happened? Yummy, yummy cookies. Matus, welcome to the sub club, dude. I even tried to repeat it. It will not do it for some reason for you. Did I run out of wall? Chair, wall. Need chair, then need wall. Hello. Hello from Poland. Welcome. Are they all livable now? Housing suitable. Nice. Taekwondo. Today was your graduation. You got a new belt, which is plain yellow, and it's really rare. I invited this thing called the Black Belt Club, and you got chosen. Congrats, dude. Congrats. Good job, dude. That's awesome. He knows Kung Fu, guys. Or Taekwondo, at least. That is really awesome, dude. Congrats. Hey! Kinda does, don't it? But it's not finished. It's a work in progress, man. Whoops. Alright, I got way too much crap. Don't need these. Don't need that. Don't need that crap. Ooh, should I do a teleportation potion? It's not finished, man. I just started. I made an expert world. First expert world with this character. It's gonna be my main home world from now on. Check it out. You can't get in. That's funny. I was about to do something, I promise. I don't remember what. I need a chest. Dire need. Chest, anvil. Should have kept that iron ore. I get more. Maybe I. Bloop, bloop. Is this iron? It's tin? I don't want tin. Tin is garbage. I did not beat the wall of Donald. Also tin. I made an expert world. I want to get some mad loot, man. Saving up money, gotten 139, need 150 when you sign up today. You're gonna learn how to use weapons like the staff. That is hardcore. Do not mess with Elemental Fighter. He is an Elemental Fighter. Ginge the Clinge. Should show up in a second, Ginge. If it doesn't, I will give you an introduction anyway. chest of wood. Anyway, welcome Ginge the Clinch to the sub club. Don't know if your name's gonna pop up. Sometimes it don't. Hope you have a good time, dude. Just hanging out. 200 sub. Hi Poos, Saturday stream. What's up, Simon? Welcome to the chat, dude. Glad you could stop in. I don't want tin. I don't want this crap. I don't want this crap. I don't want this crap. I don't need that. Don't want that. Don't need that. Don't need that. Alright. Yep. Welcome anyway, dude. Glad you could come. Thanks, man. Took 7 weeks, man. 7 weeks of dedication, 40 hours a week, 5 streams a week, highlight videos, etc. But we're here. Oh, there's my iron. There's my iron. There's some more iron. Some silver. Hey. Loot it all just because I want that chest. Sorry about that. Yeah, where are all my recall potions? Oh, there. Keep you up top. Well. Anvil. Anvil. Need to get me a couple of chests down so I could store all this random junk. Or extra shadow key. No, I gotta put that somewhere else. Random wormhole potion. Oh, don't need that. Don't need that. Might need that. I'll keep that. Thorns. No, some of this stuff's garbage. This is what I use to pee on people. Definitely need these. Cause I is no good. What's going on? Everything good? Garbage. I don't care about those. I don't use those. Stick that in there. Garbage. Need my ropes. Need these. Don't need all these. Bear with me, folks. Bear with me. Got a lot of cleaning up to do. I don't need that many shadow keys. You just made this infinitely more difficult. Zombie is glowing. What's it mean when the zombie is glowing? Is he a special zombie? Should I go kill him? Crap! Shall I go try to kill him? With one hand. Let me start the timer. And gap happening for 10 minutes, of course. Of course, of course, of course. Where's my timer? Alright guys. One hand, 10 minutes. Frickin' frick. So I think there's 2 glowing zombies down there. Why? Nothing special. Nothing special from the glowing zombies. Alright guys, holy crap. This is gonna be difficult. The expert mode handicap. Awesome. Is this where I was going? I can't. I hate it. I hate it. Why do I use my... Oh god. Oh god. Oh god. Maybe I should use my gun. Take that. That is a heart of some sort that I found. Alright, later man, thanks for stopping in. For the 200 sub hype stream. Oh, there's a sandstorm that way. Yeah, not dealing with you guys. 8 minutes left on the handicap arena. Run! Run! Okay, I need to get rid of that. It's annoying now. Solo only, my man. It messes up the stream whenever I play multiplayer. It starts dropping frames and stuff. Can't handle the upload. Just trying to get a lay of the land here. Ooh, the eye's gonna be fun. An expert. God. It's the longest 10 minutes, dude. What's up, Blue Nala XP? Welcome to the chat. Glad you could stop in. Just gonna explore left to right. Oh, pyramid. That's good. I gotta remember that's there. When I can actually use two hands. Go, magic carpet, go. I wonder what's in the pyramid. Yeah, this is basically hardcore with one hand. I just gotta run from everything or die. Too bad I'm maxed out on freaking mana. Great, a tree. Whatever. Howdies. Is there anything else I can do with these stars? Club bucks are a currency you can earn in chat. You can go to the shop and spend them. Make me do stupid stuff like put on a puppet show, wear goggles, play with one hand for 10 minutes. Things like that. Something for you guys to do in chat besides just watch gameplay. Get some interaction going. No, Vulture, no. I'm just trying to explore left and right, figure out which side the dungeon's on, get a basic lay of the land. Poke Shadow Gaming Channel, welcome to the sub club, dude. Glad you could stop in. Oh, here's the dungeon. I think I have some flippers. What do those do? I know there's something that lets you breathe underwater. I just don't remember what it is. It's been a while. Haha, you lost. That's what you get for making me do this. That's what you get, my good sir. Barney the Merchant has arrived. What's up, it's your boy Spider-Man. Welcome to the chat. Inexact, welcome to the chat as well. Good quote, good quote. After I can set Freddy down, I'm gonna totally hit up that pyramid way back there. This thing's going forever in large worlds. Finally at the beach. I want that underwater treasure chest, but I know there's no way I can get it. No chance at all. Ice bucket challenge. Good luck with that, man. Gotta put in the work, boy. Get them subscribers. God almighty, 8 minutes and 30 seconds. I'm gonna start heading back to that pyramid. Hopefully this is over by then.
Where you just like disconnect from the scene, just the race, like, and it's a race that I've created in my head, you know. But you have to step away from it.
Bucks without the sea. My arm gets so tired doing this. Sounds like complaining, but geez, come on, man. 10 minutes straight, just holding this Freddy here. Emily the nurse. Alright, we're gonna have to build more houses, guys. Oh, thank God it's over. Oh, 3 seconds. Oh, right in time for the pyramid too. Thank God. Oh, man. It's crazy. Oh, thank God I only put one of those in there today. It's your boy Spider-Man. Thanks for the sub, dude. You guys feel free to check out his channel if you want. $212. It's a good day. Good day. Alright, let's see what's in this pyramid. The easy way. Let's get some of that money. Another one. Interesting. Can you fight while you're on the carpet? I did not know you could fight while you're on the carpet. Huh. Give me that banners. I want those banners. I'm out of room. Demolitionist. Yeah, if you win the flip coin, whatever you put in gets doubled. If you lose whatever you put in. Dun, 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 dun. Add some bars of some sort. Alright. We're gonna make another floor of the house. Stop talking about beer, man. This is a family friendly. He's over here talking about beer on a family friendly stream. What's wrong with this guy? No, I will not be streaming tomorrow. Usually only stream Monday through Friday. Just doing a little Saturday 200 sub special. Feel free to come back Monday though, dude. I love you forever, man. No. Thought I had another door. Oh, wait. Give me that. Heck yeah, son. It's my 200 sub special. Now I got 214. Love it. Loving every minute of it. It's starting to snowball, boys. The channel's getting out of control. Do I have... Oh god. What I just did will kill everybody with OCD. No, I do not. The only version I've ever played is the PC version. My good man. Yeah, there's a 3-minute cooldown on the flip coin to prevent spamination. I guess that's better than mine. No, I like the quick better. Dude, the saxophone every time. Love it. Feel it in my soul. Wait, I need this. On this world, none. This is a new world on expert mode. Sometimes you just gotta pee off the roof. Just gotta let it go, man. Dude, that was me playing the sax. Didn't you hear my awesome saxophone? It's flip coin, not coin flip. I wonder if I can find an island up here. My umbrella. Oof. Yeah, it's softcore. I ain't wanting to lose this. Cause I die a lot. I tend to fall off of high places. Probably #1 cause of death. These large worlds. I think it's too high. No floating city here. Oh god, what's that mean? That's bad, right? What's that mean? I feel an evil presence. What? I don't know what that means. There's really nothing here. There's nothing on this island. What's that mean? I feel an evil presence watching me. I don't know what that means. Oh, is it coming? I don't see him. Oh, zero. Oh crap! Why did I do that? See, that's what I'm talking about. I do a lot of stupid stuff. I don't see no Eye of Cthulhu. Oh, look at that. Oh, there it is, boys. Oh, interesting. Why another one? Why does it always give me that garbage? Oh, hey guy, what's up? Blap, 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 blap. Eat my gap, boy. Hey. Can chill out with that BS. That's how you do that. Ooh, treasure bag. Nice. Oh, there's a bunch of them. Treasure bag. That's pretty cool. Oh, is this a weapon? This is a weapon. No, it's not. Well, that's pretty cool. Flip coins, just something you can do. It's like a little gambling thing with the coins in the chat. Just type help. Fussbot will set you up, dude. You can buy stuff in the shop. Lots of little things you can do. Do I need gold? I don't know if I need gold. I want that though. It means that if you buy that, I will give you a custom rank in the chat, whatever you want it to be. Jeez, forever. I need a better hammer. Somebody's getting a cool room. It's not a blood moon, is it? No, this is single player. Last time I tried to do multiplayer, it just got too laggy. It started to lag the stream a bit, so I had to turn it off. How much is that? Is that enough for a room? Yeah, that's enough. Nice. Cool deal. How long did it take you to get 200 subs, man? So it took me a while. Well, the first 100 took me a while. The second 100 took me a week. It's just like growing exponentially, which is pretty sweet. Pretty sweet indeed. Dude, Terraria has done wonders for my stream, man. Since I started streaming this, my subs have just kept climbing. I mean, I stream a lot of different games, but this game That's not enough wood. This game has done wonders for my channel. Please. Oh, so close. So close. Do I have any in here? Wood? Yes, I do. It's because I'm awesome, dude. I put a lot of work in my stream. Lots and lots. I stay dedicated. I stick on schedule. Hey, Cosmic. What's up, dude? Welcome back. Glad you could stop in on the 200 sub hype special Saturday stream. Blah, 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 blah. I'm gonna do this first, just in case I don't have enough. I think I don't have enough. Oh. Maybe I did. Maybe I do not. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Give me 1 second, guys. Hey, what's up, Nuke? Welcome to the chat, dude. Welcome back, Ian. Did I have extra walls, perhaps? Yes, I did. Nuke! Welcome to the sub club, dude. Glad you can make it. 200 stream special. Well. Well. No. Gotta put up your banners first, man. Put up your banners. Torches. Hey, girl. What's up, girl? What's up, old man? Just doing a little bit of apartment maintenance. Don't mind me. Been up 1.5 hours so far. We still got a little ways to go, guys. This hallway at some point is going to be completely redone, so please don't get OCD flip out. I am from the US, towards the east. If you're familiar, I live in West Virginia. If you are familiar with that area. Suitable. 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 Alright. I'm gonna have like, this is gonna be more filled out. There's gonna be like a commons room where like people can go chill and talk together so they're not all separated. It's gonna be like stairs and stuff, but I mean it's not number one priority, but it is on the list there. I already beat the Eye of Cthulhu on expert because I am a boss. It was no problem. I need to explore some dungeons, guys. Really do. Okay, what's up, Block Gaming? Welcome to the chat, dude. Glad you could come in. If you aren't familiar with what happened a couple streams ago, I had some gear that I accidentally sold, and it made me very sad. I had some Hermes boots that I accidentally sold. I had a balloon thing that I accidentally sold, or trashed, or something. I don't know what happened to it, but now I'm on the quest to find cooler stuff, even better stuff. So treasure chest. Garbo. I'll take that money. I'll take that money. Where's my piggy bank? Hey piggy bank, you owe my money for me. Epo. What's up, Block? What you need? This is Crimson. Thank you. Thank you for giving me the sub, man. It's much appreciated. Been working very hard on the stream. Always trying to make it better. There's always something I can do to make the stream better. Always. Every time I make a highlight video and I'm watching over what I did, like I'm always trying to pick out, well, I could have done this better. I could have done that better. Maybe this should have been like that. I'm not looking for mods right now. I've already got a couple. I think that's plenty. As small as my channel is, I think I got plenty of mods for right now. This is the Crimson. Thank God. I much prefer Crimson over Corruption. Well, I can cheat the system. Arena battle! Good luck. Fussbot will guide you through. There will be a reward when done. Sorry about that. Pacifists. Pacifist. Who did that? Who did pacifist? Ian, of course it was Ian. I'm exploring a dungeon now. I can't use my weapons for 5 minutes. Ausham. Alright. 5 minutes, no weapons. Enjoy. Crap. Like Steve's pickaxe. Not on enemies. I can't use it on enemies, but I can still dig and stuff. I cannot attack enemies for 5 minutes. Come on, man. I'm looking for a house chest. This is a bad place to be a pacifist. Is this a house? No. Dart trap. No! Now I got a worm chasing me and I can't fight it. No, stop. 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 I'm not hurting you. I'm not hurting you. Leave me alone. I've done nothing to you. Jesus. Still got so long to go. I'm not hurting you, please. Please. I'm doing nothing to you, worm. Leave me alone. Oh yeah, I can do that. That's cool. Ah! I didn't mean to hit it. Thank you, Ian. Thank you much. I'm so glad I couldn't use weapons. Still can't use weapons. What's up, Alan LP? Welcome to the chat. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Oh man. How deep was I? God. I need some cool stuff. Cigar. There's nobody living there yet. That house is still empty. Ian. Who won? Nuke. Nuke won. You shall get a reward for your winning. For your winning? There you go. Congrats on winning the arena, dude. Dude. Congrats. Go to the shop, man. Do the shop command. See the stuff you can get. Random junk chest. Yay, I love these. So I need to... And that. Do I have a door? Need a door. Oh, we got ourselves a dye trader. I'm out of wall. Interesting predicament. At least I'll finish the apartment first. Alright, am I right? Am I right? I'm never right. Just say I'm right. Please tell me I'm right. Just tell me everything's gonna be okay. Hold me. Just hold me, please. Boop. Might as well be garbage. What was up there? Enjoy the cookies. Cookies are yummy. They don't do much for you though. Hey, more bro 23. Thanks for the sub. Welcome to the sub club, dude. Much appreciated. Hope you can have some fun in chat. Got plenty of stuff to do in there. This whole hallway thing is just temporary, by the way. So please don't freak out on me. Colin Ryan. Colin Ryan. Welcome to the sub club, dude. Hope you have a good time. Feel free to say hi in chat. Type that. Yeah, it's not much of a base. This is a new world, just started it today, expert mode. Just getting some NPCs here before I actually build it out some. About to start expanding on the other side. Hey girl, chill. Chill out. You need to chillax. Oh, strange plant. Just in time, the dye trader just showed up. Man, should have subbed, man. Should have subbed. But you sub now, so it's all good, man. I need wood. Give me all your wood. That's how you get wood like a boss. Oh, I need to take that timer off. Whoopsie. 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 Close all this stuff out. Open all this stuff up. Alright, later Ian. Thanks for stopping by, man. Mucho apreciado from the moderato. Yeah, I'm glad you like the channel, man. Cause the channel likes you. Shush. Would you just... Oh god. I'm gonna have to be symmetrical. Oh god. I don't know how many blocks that is. I feel like my little room is too big. So... Here maybe? That's not right. And then he dashes for no reason. Dash. Dude, everybody loves Terraria, man. This game is the awesome. I like this song. Why are you trying to skip it? Jeez, guys. 21 subs. I'm gonna have to start streaming on Saturdays. What do you guys think, man? Saturday is where it's at. I'm gonna nix the Tuesdays. Yeah, dude, I love talking to you guys. As long as possible. Even if the chat's going like super crazy, man, I will still try my best to talk to everybody. Like, I'm here to hang out with you guys. That's the whole point, right? Like, that's literally the whole point of being here. Yeah, man, Saturday's poppin', son. I'm gonna nix Tuesday, because Tuesday's always garbage. Alright. We shall explore a bit more. This house is nowhere near complete. Dude. That means the world to me when you say stuff like that. Colin. Like, I legitimately appreciate when people say stuff like that. No, Hall Tifi cannot join, unfortunately. Last time I tried to run a multiplayer game, like, the stream started lagging, the game started lagging. It just went bad. I apologize. Yeah, I'm sorry, man. I'm legitimately sorry, dude. Like, my connection cannot handle streaming and hosting multiplayer on Terraria for some reason. I just can't. I know, regulars come Tuesday. Like, the dedicated regulars, they come Tuesday. That's about it. Thank you, man. It means a lot to me, Colin. I'm glad you come. I hope you stick around, dude. I hope you keep coming back. Alright, I'm gonna find a different cave. Aye. What? Boom, son. I love that dash. That's such a cool shield. Did you? Did you? Welcome to the sub club, dude. Glad you come in. Feel free to hang out and chat. Everybody's cool. Everybody's awesome. We're all good here. Ah! Yeah, my normal streaming schedule is Monday through Friday, about 1 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern. Tim Schiller? Tim Schiller? Tim Schiller, welcome to the sub club, dude. Glad you could stop in. Much appreciated. Thanks for the sub. Dude, yeah, I'm thinking about streaming on Saturdays, man. It's a good day. We're approaching the record for subs in one day, dude. If we get up to 238, then this will be the record sub day. 35 subs in one day was the most. Let's see if we can beat it, guys. Let's see if we can do better. Can always do better. Yeah, an hour and a half, dude. It's a good day. There's 2 pyramids on this map? Oh, dude, that's nice. That's luck. That's good luck. It's a good map. It's a good lucky map. Really? Yeah, man. Some good old-fashioned Terraria, dude. It's a great game. It's a great community. I already got this stuff. I don't know. Is that all you can find in these? Is like the Pharaoh stuff and the flying carpet? Wait, I'm gonna give somebody else some banners. It's a good game. Before I started streaming it, I hadn't played it in like well over a year. But it's still good. It's still a great game. I started streaming it about 2 weeks ago. My channel has grown exponentially since then. Like, people love it. It's a good game. I like playing it. Cause I mean, it's usually not so intense that I can't like stop and read chat, you know? What's up, Vortex? Welcome back, dude. You're good. You're good. We made us an expert world. This is our new home world. Already beat the eye. Got a cool shield thingy. That's not my gun. Gotta get out of this. The Cool Guys 11. Welcome to the sub club, dude. Glad you could stop in. Sub much appreciated. Hope you can hang out and chat for a little bit. Plenty of games and stuff. Yeah, I'll be playing some more Stardew Valley next week, for sure. Gotta get through summer, man. These brutal summer months. Is this a cave I've found? Maybe not. Hey. I didn't say you could come down here. Back off, punk. Back off, punk. I love doing that. Yeah, man, we're going to straight expert mode today. Just a lake. Oh, I bet we're getting close to the jungle. Bet I can find some cool stuff in the jungle. If I don't die. Let's see. Piggy Piggy. Come here, Piggy Piggy. Hold my money for me, Piggy Piggy. These things are about to get cray cray. I can show you the world, shining, shimmering, splendid. Tell me, Cthulhu, now when did you last let your heart decide? Yeah. Whoever. I actually know who was doing that yesterday. I appreciate the effort, but I really don't like that. Nameless person who gave me some fake subs yesterday. Dude, I hate the jungle. Or nameless, not as in you, nameless. It wasn't you that was doing it. As in, you know, me not naming any names. Yeah, I know it wasn't you. I know who did it. He told me on the old Discorderino. Please. Just want something good. Why do I got trash? Cool. I got a cool little fly. He's got wings. He's adorable. Look at him. Where is the cave here? Yeah, I got like 5 fake subs yesterday. Guess I'm gonna have to make one, man. Goblin. Oh, here we go. Here's what's up. Okay, that didn't work out as planned. Sand is mean like that. No, get out, get out. Get out, get out, get out. Single player only, man. Sorry. It lags the stream too much. I start dropping frames and stuff when I play multiplayer. Ah. Alright, dude. It's one way to find a cave. Good old fashioned way. First, let's get this water out of here. Dude, look at my slime up there. He's doing work, man. Check him out. It's awesome. Just stop. I don't want any more water. Hey man, you gotta keep at it, dude. I'm here every day, pretty much. Don't let it get you down, Vortex, man. You just gotta keep going. Do it because you like doing it, man. You just gotta do it because you like doing it. I know there's gonna be something down here. Yeah, I lose subs all the time too. It really is sad when you lose a sub. It's like, yeah, man, I got this number of subs, and you check an hour later, and it's like one down. What did I do? I didn't even do anything. You just left. Is there a cave over here? Or is that just nothingness? Oh, there we go. There's something. There we go, boys. We're gonna get into a cave. We're gonna get some sweet loot. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. This is gonna be like the best cave ever. Watch. Just watch. You aren't supposed to do that. Oh, here we go. Straight down. Yeah, it takes time for it to show up. YouTube has like a delay on all that stuff. Oh, dude, yay! 16 gold! What the heck? 16 gold. There you go, piggy. We're rich now, boys. Holy crap. Score. Heck yeah, score. Hey, here's 16 gold for no reason. Hell, yeah, accepted. Dude, where's the big cave? I need the big cave. Oh, there's a heart. Hey, Creepy Crusher, Creepy Crusher. Welcome to the chat, dude. Glad you could stop in. I want that heart. Oh, what? Is there 2 hearts? There is 2 hearts. I'm gonna max out my life today, boys. Boink. Dude, this slime is eager. He's like, let me at him. I'm gonna mess that guy up. He killed him. Nice. Oh crap, I didn't mean to do that. Oh, where are the houses? Where are the houses? Booming it. Dude, I'll blow up the whole map till I find a freaking house. I want my Hermes boots back, honestly. That's what I miss the most. Hey, don't be spamming your channel in my channel. That's not cool. It's very rude. Very rude. Ah! Ah! Oh, none of the beehive. Nothing anywhere. Take that, creepy crawlies. Or dodge. I was talking to to Cosmic. Come watch the stream with Nameless Gamer. I wasn't talking to Vortex. Boy, I'm gonna run out of bombs. Ah! Oh, is this it? Did I finally find the main branch of the cave? Yes, I did. What is out here? Hornets are here, that's for dang sure. Dead. What's that? Why'd the blue glowing slime just magically appear? Stop attacking me, whatever that is. Alright, I gotta pull out my gat. I'm gonna have to start making better potions. Let me out of this. Oh, there's another heart. Gimme. Alright. Garbage. I'll use that for walls. You looked at my face? Am I that ugly? Blap. That's what you get. Dude, you're not the only one that can't believe it. Aye. So I pull out my gun? What is this? Just stay away. I don't want none. I haven't found a single treasure chest, man. Dude, if there were levels, I'd be getting so much XP right now. Did I explore this whole little area and not find anything? It's gotta be something I missed. What does that sound? Fucking bee's nest. What's up, Suit H? Welcome to the chat. Glad you could stop in. Glad to have you. Is there anything over here, maybe? Ow. Oh, I see another heart crystal at least. Nah. I keep thinking my slime is a bad guy. Shouldn't I get this? If I had electricity to this, doesn't it like make health or something? Something crazy. I'm getting rid of junk. 999 mud blocks. I don't think I need those. Got that heart. Got that heart. The tree chest. Please, if there is a chest, tell me where it's at. Where did you see the tree? Dig inside. What tree? Down here? Over here? What tree are you talking about? I'm not sure what tree chest you mean. Down in the hole. Down here? At the main bottom? Is this something I missed? I do that quite a bit. I don't see a big tree. Hey J&B Jackson, welcome to the sub club, dude. Much appreciated. Oh, this is a tree. I did not know this was a tree. Oh, we got a worm, guys. Where's it at? Dead. That's where it's at. Please, something good. Garbage. Why am I getting so much garbage? It's nothing. It's useless to me. Give me that stuff. I want to make somebody's house out of mahogany. I like that chest. Whoop. Is there anything else down here? If I keep going? Something out here. Oh god. Okay. Blap, 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 blap. Nothing. Oh, is that? No. What? Oh, Grubby, that's my little guy. Oh man, this has been a waste. I haven't found anything good in here. I want my Hermes boots. I want them bad. I want them real bad. Alright guys. I think I'm gonna go fight Skeletron. I think today's the day. Or the time is nigh. Get down in that dungeon. YouTube Master Gavin, welcome to the sub club. Much appreciated. Glad you could stop in. Feel free to hang out and chat. Plenty of cool people, plenty of stuff to do. Welcome back, Kale. Ew, ugly. Tables and chairs, tables and chairs. Rich mahogany table, nice, nice. Nice. Rich mahogany chair, mayhaps? Nice. El suitabile? Suitable. Decorating slightly. Yeah, dude, give me hugs. I love hugs. Hugs. You want hugs? You can't see it. I kind of gave you. I can hug the microphone. Cuddles. You don't tell me what I need. Yeah, I do need to make more shop items though. That is a factorino. El Factorio. Something. Skeletron. El Skeletron. Another junk chest. I need these. Excuse me. Dying a little bit. I'm gonna be so mad at myself later when I go to clean all this crap up. I don't need this. I don't use it. I'll never use it. Hey, it totally don't match. Here you go. Die guy? Reflective obsidian die. What's that look like? Ooh. Ooh, I like. Is that too much? Nah, that looks cool. That's fine. That's cool. $50 is the highest you can flip coin for. Oops. OBS. Always OBS. It's the best stuff. OBS Studio. What up? What up? What up? What up? You can change the color of this pet. I don't think you can change the color of the regular pet. And you gotta get your settings right, you gotta get your authentication keys. It's a big process, man. If you have trouble with it, I don't know what to tell you. I have a very computer sciencey background, so it really wasn't hard for me to understand. Dude, that puddle of water's gotta go. That was killing me. It was killing me. Alright guys, you ready for Skeletron? It's a bit of a journey. Yeah, look up a tutorial. You gotta get your bit rate set up, all that stuff. Dude, my slime is going to work, son. Look at him. Isn't he adorable? Yeah. I mean, there's plenty of tutorials and stuff out there. I can't really go into detail right now. It's not really... It depends on your computer, it depends on your internet speed, it depends on... when you're active in chat, you earn $2 a minute. You can spend them in the shop. You have to say something in chat at least every 5 minutes though, or else it won't know you're there. Yeah, man. We're getting up there. Channel snowball commencing. I know it's gonna get way out of hand. I feel like my channel is going to get out of hand one day. And I will no longer be able to control it. Thanks, dude. Appreciate that, Kel. And I love that you keep coming back all the time. That's what I love. Ah! 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 No! Okay, we're good. We're good. Bah! Bap, bap, bap. Take that. The OG streams were nothing to write home about. The quality you see right now is like way better than when I first started. Like it's a whole different level now than it used to be. Please tell me it's getting dark and not daylight. Terraria's on 3DS now? Dude, that is sick. I did not know that. I'm gonna have to get that. I'd love to have Terraria on 3DS. That's not a lot of bits, by the way. You need to divide that by 1024 and then divide that by 1024 again. That's how many megabytes that would be. Yeah, that's really not much space at all. So it's a super slow PC with like a 2 megabyte hard drive. Not very good. Yeah, you can also do coins, the coins command, if you feel more comfortable doing it that way. Oh no, it's just getting daytime, isn't it? What am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? It takes so long to get nighttime. Well, I guess I could look for a cloud thing. Snowy's Gaming, tips, tricks, and more. Welcome to the chat, dude. Well, I mean, you could have all that space, but if you don't have the processing power, it's pretty much just storage. Oh, 0-0. Alright, nothing there. Me, no. I am single, my good man. But I do have child. I am single daddy. That still hurt more than I thought it would. Nice, it's 5:20 right here. Nothing. Nothing. I could hold a raffle. You guys want me to hold a buck raffle? Alright, Gavin. Would you guys like a raffle? Is it nighttime yet? There you go, guys. Have yourself a little raffle, man. Almost. Yeah, YouTube Master Gavin already gave you a shout out when you subscribed, dog. Feel free to go to his channel. Come on, Skeletron. I'm ready for you, bro. What was that sound? Cause it's entering for a raffle. You better do it quick. You better do it quick if you want to get in on the raffle. Oh, you suck, dude. I'm gonna change something on that. It's gonna cost you some bucks to switch songs now. Vortex Games, good job, dude. Congrats. Dude, I don't know where you're at, old man, but it's pretty dark where I'm at. Aha, no. Ugh. What's up, Infinity Google Productions? Welcome to the chat, dude. Come on. Dead bunny. Sup, boy? Uh-oh. Is it time? Any day now. Come on, old man. I'm losing viewers. There we go. Oh, yeah. That's what's up. Right off the bat. Holy crap, you're doing a lot of damage. I'm not doing any damage. I'm not doing any damage. Why am I not doing any damage? There we go. That's the damage. Yeah, that was totally worth the wait, guys. Wow. Expert mode, Skeletron is nothing to mess with. Must remember in future. I thought I was gonna breeze through that. Holy crap. Jeez. That was painful. Gosh. Dude, I thought that was gonna be cake, man. I did not know that that was gonna happen like that. Maybe I'm not ready for expert mode. Maybe I need to go back to normal and beat hard mode or something. Jeez. My crimson armor ain't cutting it. So his attack goes up and his defense goes down when he's spinning like that. That was painful. Should I go get some molten armor maybe? I don't know. What's up, JJ? Welcome to the sub club, dude. Glad you could stop in. Number 229. No, you're number 230, I think. 230. Nice. Welcome to the club. Welcome to the chat. I'm not sure when I'm gonna end. I didn't plan on doing a full stream today, but I didn't think Saturday was gonna pop off like this. Yeah. I'm gonna have to go get the molten armor, man. Oh, show. I've got my stuff spread everywhere. I don't need that. What? Why didn't I? Why did I think that that wasn't gonna hurt me? I thought I was gonna be fine. I was only at terminal velocity, that's all. Professional streamer. No, not that. Jeez. I need molten armor, guys. I need bricks in a bad way. I got a lot of obsidian somewhere. I don't know exactly where. It's very tricky getting these bricks. Oh yeah. Well, let's switch that out. Obsidian skin potion? Will that make it so I can go into lava? Why did I not know about this? How do you get an obsidian skin potion? Obsidian Waterleaf Fire Blossom. Arena battle! So if I just take obsidian to that guy, he will give me one? I think all my obsidian's on a different map because I'm an idiot. Give me a scythe, give me a scythe, come on. You know you want to give me a scythe. No, garbage. Yeah, there's my obsidian. Colin! Whatever your name is right now. Brandon! Oh wait. Are you sure? Stab vortex. Waterleaf, Fire Blossom, Bottled Water, and Obsidian. Probably get. I've thrown away these things constantly. Where'd my Tinker's table go? Oh man, I need Waterleaf, Fire Blossom. So I get that in the desert. Get Fire Blossom in the underworld. I can do this. I can do this. Alright, where's the desert at? I'm gonna go grab some water leaf. Ooh, Tim. Tim wins. Good job. Tim. Get your ID. Give you rewards. Winning the arena. Boom, dog. There you go, son. I'll probably stream till about 6 o'clock, guys, my time. So, about another half hour. Because it is Saturday. I don't normally stream on Saturdays at all. But I'll be back Monday. Monday. Oh, I need the... Yeah, water leaf. Yeah. Any more? Any more of those? None. Oh, there's 2 more. Alright. Boop. What's up, Pachikin? Nice face. I thought we were sold out of that. Who bought that? Who bought that? Need extra protection when you're making obsidian potions. Man. Yeah, Vortex. I should have known. Get the stupid timer started. $10 minutes. Gotta wear these super sweet goggles. Alright. We're gonna get so daggone fogged up I can't see anything in about 4 minutes. Plant. Fine. I gotta do that. I want these on tap. Oh wait. Whatever. I guess it's gotta be in the desert. Now I need Fireleaf. Which I need to go very, very far south to get. Hope I can even see them when I get there. If I can see when I get to the bottom of the stupid map. Fireleaf. Ow! It's not Fireleaf anyway. Is that Fireleaf? No. Come on, dude, I just need a couple. My peripheral vision is fading. Do they go up here too? No. Boy. Dude, I'd love to get some wings. That'd be great. Okay. Fire leaf. Is there a reason I'm not finding any? Am I not looking in the right place? Fire blossom, whatever it's called. The fire thingy I need. Awesome. You guys are great. Where'd my other sock go? Well, got one on my foot, I guess. Okay, now I gotta wear one used sock because I don't know where my other clean one's at. I'm just trying to find fire leaf, guys. How long is that supposed to go for? I feel ridiculous, by the way. So many ways. 10 minutes on top of what's going on now. So, at about 14 minutes, I could take off the socks. Dude, I feel crazy stupid right now. I feel... Oh, I can't see anything anymore. Alright. I got this. I'm just looking for the fire blossom. How is it possible that there are no fire blossoms here? Please leave me alone, giant snake worm. I really didn't do nothing to you. Dude, even if I came across one right now, I probably couldn't see it. Oh crap. Oh crap. Are they super rare? Yeah, I know. I'm just glad you guys think it's funny. I hope you think it's funny. If you guys don't think it's funny, I will definitely take it out of the shop. If you guys... I got no problem removing it from the shop. Coming up with something else. I can't see. Oh no, he has a voodoo doll. No, 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 no. I hate my life. I hate my life. Why with socks and goggles? Why with socks and goggles? Oh, rip. Rip. I can't even see him. There's a big bright light over there. I cannot even see the wall of flesh. Where's my mouse? I assume I'm hitting him. Is he still over there? Ow. I can't see. I can't see what's going on. crap. Dude, he's still got so much health. No! No, 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 no. Can I use a potion yet? Can I? Uh-oh. What's going on? What's going on? Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. I can't see. Has it been 10 minutes yet? Did I stop the stream on accident? Okay. The stream's still going. That's good news. I just wanted a fire blossom, which I did not get. Why did I not get one? It could have possibly went better if I could have seen. Maybe didn't have socks on my hands. Just saying. Cool. Cool. I mean, I can do bets, I guess. Please, God. All right. Oh, man. Oh, God. Ew, I don't want to wipe my eyes with socks. This feels so weird. Oh, man, it lags the stream too much. Sorry, dude. Start dropping frames, then the game gets laggy. Just goes bad. Alright then. Attempt number 2. Finding a fire blossom. I'm out of ammo, aren't I? No, I'm not out of ammo. What the heck? Why does it say I'm out of ammo? I can't get that anyway until hard mode, right? Alright, man. 2 more minutes, I can take these stupid socks off my hands. Fire blossom, please. I mean, do they spawn like here? Is that fire blossom over there? Is that what that is? Ah! No, they spawn on ash. In the underworld, right? When it says the underworld, is it the city underworld? What's up, Waffle Master? I'm glad you're the master of waffles. Haha. Where is this stupid fire blossom? I think they are troll. They do not exist. Pretty sure. Whoa. I'm pretty sure I've had one before. Maybe I can get him inside these little things. Maybe. Blaze Gaming, welcome to the sub club, dude. Hope you have a good time. Hang out and chat. Of course, Waffle Master? How could you not notice a Waffle Master? The Waffle Master. Give me some of those stupid flowers, come on. Is it that hard to give me? I can get this. Probably go over here and get this. Soul of Gaming, subscribe. Thanks for the sub, dude. If it doesn't pop up on screen, then I apologize. But either way, welcome to the sub club. Hope you have a good time. Man, there's a... If I work it properly, man, I can get a lot. I can get a lot out of here. Ow. Fire hurts a lot. Ow. Oof. It's a tough decision. Probably have to go with nails as well. Nico Salika, thanks for the sub. Welcome to the sub club. Oh! I can't heal. I'm slowly dying. How much do I got? 36. I need a lot, don't I? Oh man. Dude, I stream Monday through Friday, dude. Dude. 5 days a week, 5 to 6 hours a day. Just doing a Saturday special stream because I had 200 subs this week. Which sadly is going to be ending soon, guys. I gotta go about 6 o'clock. This is mainly a streaming channel. That's about all I do is stream. I also make highlight videos. That's it. Because YouTube's better than Twitch. I said it. I don't care to say it. I'll say it. Ah. Uh-oh. Oh, man, just let me by. Come up here and say that. Oh, I can take these socks off. I had those socks on way too long. Spin it, spin it, spin it. I think that's how I'll go out today, guys. Spinning it. Alright, guys. Let me find it. You're fine. You're fine. We got one. We got two. Here's the Lotus. This is what I call the Lotus. This is what I call the Lotus. The Lotus spin. Now ready for the Grandmaster. Only do not try this at home. This is how we spin, boys. This is it. Alright, guys. I believe that's going to be it for today. Thank you for stopping by for my 200 sub special and giving me 34 more subs today. 34 subscribers. Wow. Definitely going to have to start streaming on Saturdays, man. Saturday's a good day. But I love you all. I'll stream Monday through Friday. I'll be back Monday. About 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tons of fun. Lots of silly stuff to do in chat. Lots of silly stuff to do for me. I know, dude. If I would've got 4 more, I would've broke my record today. It's close. It's very close. Either way, guys. Oh, Hawaii Gaming. Welcome to the sub club. I appreciate it. Thank you, my man. That'll pop me up to 235. You guys are awesome. You guys are the best. Hope you can come back Monday, man. I play a variety of games. I play some Terraria every week at some point. I will be playing some Stardew Valley next week. We got Stardew Valley. Wow. Got Stardew Valley. We got some Subnautica coming. We got more Terraria coming. Might try Starbound again. I might give it another shot. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But, dude, I hope everybody comes back. Give me a sub. About half an hour before the stream goes live. Maybe an hour. I put it up on my channel. Yeah, Stardew Valley is awesome. It's a fun game. I'm in summer right now. First year. I just started streaming it last week. This week. Yeah. Anyway. Hope to see you guys later. Peace. Peace out. Ah.